Okay, so in order to access the hive, that is kerberised hive, because we already have this ticket with us in the from the last one, so we have gathered it for another user, and now we need to access the kerberised hive service. So for that, this is the command that we need to use. So it will have jdbc hive 2. Now this is the machine where our hive server 2 is running on port number 10,000, and we need to use this principal called hive, and this is the way you need to specify underscore host and the real name called cluster.com. So basically with this principal video 3-part, the name of service, then underscore host, and then the real name. Again, when you do that, basically you should be brought into the beeline command shell. There you can just do show databases and do lot of other work. So this is actually the secured access granted to the hive for the user, okay, because we do have the valid ticket, TGT, ticket granting ticket to us. That is actually connecting to, and now you do show databases, and it should show you some thing, right? So you can just use default, you can create, and now this regular hive stuff you can do within beeline. Okay, you can also use this just for passing the if you are having certain commands written in your script, you can just do this and press -F and then file name, and then it will be automatically executed all those script, all the commands in that script, hive commands in that script, using this kind of syntax. Okay, so let me come out of it now.
Miman, question here.
Mm-hmm.
So it contains of three syntax, correct? JDBC : hive 2,
yes,
and then followed by the host and the port number, correct?
yes,
And then principal key. That's a key tab principal, correct?
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, now one thing we do is basically integrate this complete machine to Active Directory. As of now, what is there is we have used wrong way. Say being a Miman 10 user, since it is not there on the Active Directory, we know already the password of a different user. We got the ticket for the different user, but we need to go with the right thing. So suppose if I do ID, I can say HDFS, so it will tell me that the ID, this particular user is existing on my machine, local machine. Now if I do ID and try to check for something that is currently on Active Directory, okay, where is my Active Directory? Okay, here. So if I say HDP user 1, I know that this user is not there on my local machine. So HDP user 1, it say there is no user at all. What about HDP super user? Whoever the users over here, right? These are all some legitimate or legitimate users or valid users. Those are coming from Active Directory, but being non-existing on our local machine, it's very difficult to use them as that is, because we do not have them locally available, and we don't want them to locally available. That's what is the intention of Active Directory. Okay, but then how do we get, if I say ID and then HDP user, we should be able to get that this user is existing somewhere in Active Directory, though they are not present here in the local file system. Locally they are not present, but our system should be able to communicate to the Active Directory so that it will bring all the users locally. And being the user on Active Directory, or being a valid user on the Active Directory, you should be able to directly jump into the Linux console and try to fire all your commands without any loss of existence. So for that, what we need to do is basically we need to integrate this machine. So there are 3 machines in our cluster. All those 3 machines needs to be integrated with our Active Directory, so that whenever that Active Directory user, valid user, comes to our any of that machine, mostly we need to integrate it with the our age node mostly. Okay, But let me tell you that how we can integrate these machines to the Active Directory, and then if you go to the computers, you will see one entry over here for each individual machines in our cluster. Okay, and when you get that, basically these machines will definitely share this HDP users database, all the user database, onto their local machine. Okay, so that's what actually we are going to do now. So what
Vimant, I think that should be a first step, correct? No?
yes, I mean
Vimant, that should be first step, no?
no, I mean, yes, that could be. I mean, there is no logical sequence behind it. I mean, yes, when you really integrating, yes, it should be. I mean, you should get the users first, and then you can kerberize. But again, these are independent activities. You can do whenever you want, because suppose as of now you did not open that cluster to the use of your users, then this sequence does not matter. Which one you do when. Okay, so let me just tell you to connect this particular machine, that is at least HDP M2 machine, to this Active Directory, so that we will get all these users available on our local machine to fire the commands. Okay, so this is the document that we need to follow, and if you see that currently we are talking about the syncing of users to Ambari. We had talked about the syncing of users to Hive independently. We had talked about the syncing of users from Active Directory to the Ranger independently, because they all have their independent databases, independent entities are they. They are independent entities, and they want the user sync independently to that. Okay, since we are not making them to use the local users of Linux machine. Okay, that's what actually we are doing, right? So we don't allow the Hive to access the local user database. Try to go and check onto the Active Directory and get the user data from there. Ambari also, we don't allow it to use the local machines users, right? We asked it to go to Active Directory and then bring these groups and the users from Active Directory to sync into the Ambari database or Ambari console or whatever. Okay, so Hive also is on the same principle. So again, being a Linux machine, each individual node is also a kind of independent piece of thing that also requires the user sync from Active Directory to the things. Okay, so there is a service called SSSD, triple SD. Okay, that is what is actually the responsible piece of code, or sorry, responsible piece of daemon that tells the local Linux machine that from where you need to fetch the user details. SSSD, called single sign-on service daemon. So this is the responsible service that will fetch the user details from either local machine, or you will direct it to fetch it from OpenLDAP or Active Directory or any other piece of tool, or any other tool where the independent user management or user identity management is being done. It can connect to FreeIPA or server 3net. So it is available on every Linux flavor, triple SD. Apart from that, few more supported services needs to be installed. Okay, and that will actually register this machine called HDPM to the Active Directory, and then it can seamlessly access all the user database from the Active Directory directly within the machine, though those users are not present in the local user database of that machine. We try to understand it. We are moving out of this local machine for the user database and try to search it on the Active Directory instead of searching it onto the local machine. When I say ID HDFS, it is still searching the local file system. Okay, so let me do that. Now, this is the first command that you need to access. This is called AD, Active Directory CLI, command line interface. What it will do is basically, here you can provide all the domain and its all the related information about your Active Directory. Okay, and mostly till 6.8, CentOS 6.8, 6.9, you need to do like this. From 7.1 onwards, or CentOS 7, it is very straightforward and very easy to integrate any individual CentOS 7 machine with the Active Directory. Okay, that is again a needed step so that we are getting all the users from Active Directory directly sync into our local system. Okay, so let me do that. Sudo yum install CLI. So let me install it. Now I know this way, but basically there are few more other ways. There are multiple ways, I think, but I'm habitual of this way to integrate my machine to. If it is CentOS not 7, I mean it is not 7 flavor CentOS 7 floor, or if it is only CentOS 6 point something, 6.x flavor, then basically this is the proper way. What it lacks basically does not create the home directory of the user whenever he logs in. Okay, so suppose when we integrate this machine to our Active Directory properly, basically there are users like there are the user like HDP admin. When he logs in, basically this particular structure, whatever we are trying to generate over here, will not create the home directory automatically. We may need to separately create the home directory for this user. Okay, there are other ways also that will automatically create the home directory for the user if he logs in for the first time into your local machine being integrated with your Active Directory. Okay, so it is missing that particular thing, but still it is quite okay. So I have this thing installed called Active Directory CLI, and now what I will do is basically I will run this command sudo cli info cluster.com. So cluster.com is the domain to which I will be connecting to. Okay, so could not resolve domain cluster sudo cluster.com. Oh, I'm really sorry. HTTPM2. Okay, so since it is saying that could not discover this thing, so actually this is the file dot something called resolve.com, right? This will actually help you to find the domain name service. I mean, basically domain name service is what in order to, so whatever machine, whatever IP that you are trying to find, basically it is like one it will forward your request to that machine so that it will then find, because cluster.com is something that is not present locally. We need to route this request to find it outside of our machine that is running on Active Directory. So if this domain is not found, it is going to be searched into this resolve.conf. Okay, so if I open this, you will see that our name server, it is pointing to this particular IP address, okay, where it may not find it. So we need to give this name server to be the IP address of our Active Directory, that is this one. So let me put it over here in insert mode. And I think that could be it. Let me just try to save it and try to run it one more time. And now see, so now we have forward this request in order to find the domain cloud cluster.com. So it will just come here on etcresolve.conf and it will go to the entry over here 10.148.03 and try to find if the cluster.com exists or not. So it is now found its domain cluster.com, and its domain controller is Mimant AD cluster.com. So this is a machine which is acting as a domain controller for our domain. Okay, and finally, so this is what now basically if you go ahead from this point, so to install CLI, we got this information. And now as you can see, CLI was able to discover quite a few details about test domain, so it's time to join the client. So do sudo cli join cluster.com, and then our user is mimant10. Okay, so this is the, you can say, a user who is already existing, and with its password basically you can provide the password from whatever he has saved for. This is the password for mimant10 on that machine. So I have right click, pasted it, and
Which is this password? Trying to understand.
when you go to this HTTP, okay, so from here you will create it. So set Windows password. So we had created two users, one is mimant10, another one is the administrator, and it has just given us the random password, okay, so that we can log into this machine called mimant80, that is Windows Active Directory. Okay, so just like we do have some administrator user and normal user to log into our laptop or any machine basically, just like in for all these machines we do have mimant10, right? So for here also I have one normal user called mimant10 and one administrator user called administrator itself, and for the password we have saved over here. Okay, so this is the first step when we made the Active Directory. So this is the normal user password, this is the administrator password. Okay, now once you will be prompted for the administrator password, so we have given it. The join operation creates a key tab, the machine will authenticate itself when so now you can just run this command sudo klist -k dot head, and you will find certain information about, for the user principal, and it is all pointing to cluster.com, and then for this machine HDPM2. Okay, now it's recommended to, so basically this krb.conf we already have, so since we already had kerberised our cluster, we don't require this. So but suppose if you don't do that, you need to manage it manually. Okay, so I think it is not required in our case, it's already done, because if you go and try to look into this krb.conf, since we already had kerberised our cluster, you will easily see all those entries over there, because we already had cluster.com and everything is in place. It is already pointing to that realm basically. Okay, now I think at this point you should be able to see in computers, if I think you refresh it, see HDPM2 has come over here. Okay, so being a independent node, independent machine, it is being added into your realm, or you can say Active Directory. Okay, and being a machine, it is there now. So you can see a list of computers over here, just like printers or computers, laptops, lot of devices basically you will find over here. Okay, so currently we do not have any printers, we do not have any other device at our network, so we have not added them. But since these are three machines in that cluster, HDPM2, HDPS1 and HDPS2, we can add them like that. Okay, so this machine is now appearing. Basically, let's go further from that point. And so as of now, we have just do add CLI, AD CLI, Active Directory command line interface, and we have given all the configuration so that our machine is now registered with the Active Directory itself. Okay, so being a entity, it is already registered with it now. So the final step to setting up the SSSSD, that is this daemon single sign-on service. I do say that, but then you will find some more full form of it. Okay, sudo yum install autoconfig SSSD. Okay, so it may already be present. Okay, it is not, so I'm just okay, so that is installed, SSSD auth config. Now run so autoconfig does not support configuring the AD backup backend directly, so you will need to do manual config. Okay, so that's what we are doing. So now we need to run enable SSD, enable SSS authorization, and do update. So it's done. Now you should see triple S being present in. Okay, so go and check this file. So this is triple S entries, PASSWD, shadow group. Okay, let me just do sudo vi on it. Group services, so everything is triple S now. Now we need to configure it also for triple SD, so that instead of pointing to the local machine, what is that, etc triple S, okay, sudo vi. Triple SD. Sudo cd will not work, right? Cd triple S3 will not work. Let me give the permission. Later on we will make it revert. Currently let me give it to currently there is no file, we need to create one called ssdconf. And put that. So now the provider would be now Active Directory instead of any normal user. So AD server is this one. Okay, I think this is what we had done again. Sudo chmod etc ssd cd ssds, and then we need to make the change it to 600. Okay, so let me just paste it over here. Okay, since our domain name is same cluster.com, we can still use it. Else, depending on whatever domain you create, you need to put like that. Okay, so Active Directory server is mimant.ad cluster.com, and then we just need to do sudo, because this is created. So this is the thing. Start this is make sure it's up after reboot. So sudo service start. So it is started. You can check the status. It's running, and we need to just check config off so that it will be on after every reboot. Now you should now able to log in as an Active Directory user just fine now. So this is the domain and this is the user. Okay, so we do have users like, what are the users? So let me take any Active Directory user. Let's say HTTP admin one. This is user, and the syntax should be hyphen means just copy the class path from this particular profile, and HDP admin1 @ I think we need to give full name @cluster.com. That is a domain only. And the password for this user is gravity1 @ and see, we logged in. If you want to do ID, so basically it seems that it is existing on your local machine. Are you getting me? So it is giving you the user ID coming from Active Directory, group ID coming from Active Directory, which groups this particular user is belonging to. So it is the group of HDP admins, right? And this HDP admins we had created on our Active Directory rather than on our local machine. But still it is now able to find it. Now if you do klist for it, it is having some TGT already available to it. So it can easily run Hadoop fs -ls, right? So now this is a legitimate way or proper way of running the Hadoop commands with proper users. Now I am not running this command with Mimant10 user. It is an independent user whose name is HDP admin, and that is not residing on my local machine. It is residing on this Active Directory domain or on this Active Directory machine. So this user is actually physically residing on this machine, but can be used to log into this Linux and can run all the Hadoop commands. It can also run the beeline, like how we run that. Let me just try this command. And it should get access because it is having proper kerberised ticket. I can destroy this ticket again. I can get this ticket again created for me. So now I will do show databases. Okay, so I should be able to see it now. So yes, requires some practice, definitely. But if you do pwd, it may not show you the home directory. It is still logged on to the top directory. So that's what actually I was trying to say you, that I don't know how to with this steps basically it is very difficult to create the home directory automatically, because again this is the policy violation that this user should have its own home directory created, and whenever he logs in, he should be brought into his home directory. He should not use anything outside of his home directory. He can have all the authority on its home directory. So that is what actually the policy. Okay, but it is not it's only policy violation. So you need to create it being a root user. You need to log in as a root user, create the home directory for this user, allow this user to be use only that home directory. But still, when he logs in, he is not directly brought into the way. Now you can do key destroy, okay, and do ll. So you don't have any key, sorry, not klist. You don't have any proper Kerberos TGT, so you can do Hadoop fs -ls and you will get an error. Oh, this is the error for not having proper TGT. Now if you do kinit and password for HDP admin, see it has actually brought this since we logged in with it. So give the proper password. Let me give it gravity fun. And now you will have klist proper Kerberos ticket, and you can now access all the services whichever you want. Consider this machine to be a edge node, and you are having all the clients available there, and your edge node is connected here to your Active Directory, and all the users are getting synced over here. Now if you do ID, yes, exit out of it, and now try to find the ID for this one. It was appearing. So currently it is, since this triple SD is now authenticating every user through Active Directory, it is actually giving you now, since this machine is now also the part of your Active Directory. Okay, so you need to do this same step, all this step on all the machines. Okay, So you can create an Ansible playbook and run it on all the slaves. They all will be registered with the Active Directory, and all the users will be accessible. It will be accessible to all the users. But then, why we require that? We don't. We require only the edge nodes to be the part of our Active Directory, right? Because, I mean, that's where the users will log in. Are you getting me? The users are not going to log in directly onto the other machines of your Hadoop cluster. They are going to log in only to the edge node. So you just need to do this only for edge nodes. Okay, so being considered this green machine is our edge node, though it is a kind of master and lot of all the clients and some master services and some slave services also getting installed in that. But still we can treat this to be an edge node. Okay.